Thank you. Let's see now. Are we mailing F? Back to Executive Director Runyon for financial updates, mailing F, and strategic plan update.
Executive Director Runyon. So we'll kind of lump these two together as we did last time, although we had a little bit more to talk about in terms of the financial plan update or financial update as we did last time, just due to some isolated developments or circumstantial developments since then. So you can see the revenue for month 12 is over budget. And then if you group our expenditures together, they're all under budget. You can scroll down, and that represents the cash balance anyway represents 5.8 months of operating expense there. And then the projection would be 11.85 months of operating expenses at the end of the biennium. We'll go down to month 13. And same thing here, revenues are over budget, and then all of our expenditures are under budget. And that's the most recent data we have there, 10.91 months of operating expenses projected at the end of the biennium. And I would like to point out that, as I've mentioned before, especially with the fee increase, I think it's really important that when we're asking more of our licensees, that we ask more of ourselves. So I've taken a hard look at ways that we can be more judicious and more judiciously use the resources that we have been so graciously given. So I think that's one of the things that I pride myself and my team in, is that we really take it to heart when we ask these things of our licensees, and we're doing the same things of ourselves. So granted, I think there are some things that we wish we could update, but we take a hard look at the necessity of things before we pull the trigger and just make sure that it represents a judicious use of those resources, and because we do respect where those resources come from. So one thing I like to mention, I think it was late spring, we first found out that there would likely be a budget shortfall in the state. And just having taken over, I started to plan for potential ramifications of that. And as part of the agency request budget, every year we're required to include a 10% reduction exercise, essentially. So if we were asked to make any cuts, we have to identify what are the highest priority items that essentially we're willing to cut out or willing to part with. So I took a look at those as they were previously submitted and then approved, and didn't necessarily like what I saw. It didn't reflect, at least in my opinion, the current needs of the agency when I took over. So we're correct. I think the state is facing, if I'm not mistaken, a $327 million budget shortfall right now. Governor Kotek put out a communication on September 16th talking about the shortfall and what that would look like for various agencies and what the ask is going to be. I haven't mentioned that before now because there was, for a couple of reasons, there was some ambiguity about whether certain restrictions would apply to other funded agencies such as ourselves, travel restrictions, for example. The general communication, they were talking about slowing the spending of general and lottery funds. Of course, we're another funded agency. I had a meeting with a financial analyst that was assigned to us from DAS on 10/2. So I got answers to those sorts of questions. We have a more clear picture as to what's expected of us, what that's going to look like, and what we can expect going forward. So they're asking us for a 5% reduction now. in 2.5% increments. And so that represents about 720,000 of total revenue in about 350K increments. And I was able to advocate for some different or some changes to this 10% exercise that was submitted as part of our agency request budget. And part of the preparation, and I've alluded to this at various points recently, was keeping those positions that we have vacant open a little longer. It would have reduced workload for us, obviously, to fill them, but we anticipated that we might have to cross this fork in the road, if you will. So due to the vacancy savings that we have, and can you switch?
You bet.
We'll come back to this in just a moment. So due to the vacancy savings of keeping those positions open, including the pharmacist consultant position, what that's essentially allowed us to do is retain those positions that you saw that would have otherwise likely have been cut, which included a licensing representative and 2 compliance staff, and that would have crippled the agency. So I would just like to point out that even though it's resulted in a greater workload for staff that's here, because we're judicious about using those resources and because the team is forward thinking and we all support one another and we had the foresight to realize that this might be an ask, we're able to keep the people that are in here currently in here. So I'm really happy to announce that, again, everyone here can stay in here. And we have those vacancy projections, I think, out through 3/1. So we scroll down with those vacancy savings and then some modest cuts. I feel fairly evenly distributed across some of the other programs, which we have below. We'll be able to meet that target and we'll be able to fill those positions around March 1st without requiring any other cuts. So I did some basic number crunching here. And I know it's late in both the day and the board meeting agenda. So green is good, red is bad. What you can see there is I took the 25-27 LAB on the left. So those are the amounts that we were allotted. The proposed reduction in working with the financial analysts from DAS. And then I extrapolated out what percent of the allocation that represented. I subtracted that, and that leaves you with a residual balance. And then we looked at the 24-25 actuals. So what we actually spend on this last time, again, it's just an approximation. So the projected balance for each of those, again, it's just a quick and dirty calculation. You see that we do have a surplus. I have a couple points there. The software modernization project, as you know, was legislatively approved, and that represents a significant cost in the IT product services category. So if you look at the residual balance and then the 24-25 actual, you see it's quite a big disparity there, but the acquisition of that database or that operating software accounts for the majority of that. And then there was a fee increase from, I guess, all of the services with our AG. There was a fee increase from last biennium to this biennium. So there's an asterisk beside that fee as well. The 24-25 actual was about 600K. And there was I think a roughly 28% increase, the fee per hour. So extrapolated that out to get the 767 figure. And we still have a little bit of wiggle room there, though not much. I think we've had an increase in the number of hearing requests lately. So we still are implementing procedures to make sure that we're using that as consciously and if not sparingly as we can. And I think we still have some further room to go on that to see how we can consolidate those processes, especially between the 2 different departments. And look at that from a more holistic perspective and to reduce those costs where appropriate. So we can go back to that other screenshot if you want. And this is what I was referring to there is the 10% reduction exercise. You can see what was proposed there and what we've been able to avoid just because of this future planning and kind of being patient and anticipating these changes before we were asked to do anything about them. President Joyce, I'll turn it over to you for any comments, and we'll go to the strategic plan update next.
That's good. For President Joyce, so specifically the positions being kept open until 3/1 are the clinical consultant position, ED assistant position, and what else is being kept open?
The CFAO position, yeah.
Okay, and the public member position, or are we still actively recruiting for that, hiring?
Yeah, that's not a part of this budget. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there is some impact due to the per diems and the travel, but it's negligible in terms of the
Right.
overall impact.
Okay. And then first off, I mean, thank you very much for being able to cover you. I mean, you and Bree are covering for a clinical consultant, and it's amazing that you guys can play tasks like that, you know. So thank you for that. Yeah, former Kirkbride.
Yeah, I just had a couple of questions about the travel and publishing, like out-of-state travel. Is that reducing the number of places you're going, or just the number of people that are going to those different meetings, or just quick comments? And then for the publishing, like what would be the major like things we would see reduced in that? I do not know yet.
Yeah. So Executive Director Ryan. So great comment or question about the travel. I think Board Member Kroger brought up some things last weekend. We didn't have anyone scheduled to go to the NABP meeting. And then that through those conversations, we realized maybe it's time to revisit that in terms of developing a policy, because I think there may have been an opportunity for us to be represented in an alternative way that perhaps we hadn't addressed before, but could through the use, the crafting of a policy. We need legal advice for that. So I did do some preliminary kind of research with AG Hunt on that. And there are a few different alternatives or a few different potentialities, if you will, that will need legal advice. And then I think some input from the Ethics Commission, just depending on what that might look like. But we do intend on pursuing that. And then I think perhaps depending on scheduling, maybe bringing that back to the December board meeting if possible. Yeah, I appreciate Board Member Kroger bringing that up. And I think this is a great thing to do in terms of timing, because to answer your other question, out-of-state travel is at this point, there are no exceptions for that. So if a trip wasn't already booked and it's out of state, as far as I know, I've seen in black and white or blue that in pen, that there are no exceptions for that. So I think going forward, having a sort of policy will allow us to be more nimble and pivot and still maintain that presence, which I think is important, especially as we are kind of working to kind of obtain more consistency with what we do here. And, there are other projects that we're doing or have undertaken, like the MOEV protocol, for example, where, it is sort of a novel thing where the input from other partner states that are exploring this as well, having that sort of input in person and being able to pull those resources will be really important for us to continue to do what we do. And then kind of trend set, which is one of the things that I talked about. I think having that degree of connectivity, not just through NABP, but through all of the professionals and individuals that we meet at those meetings, I think is really important. But as of now, all the out-of-state travel is cut out.
Board Member Smith, thank you guys for all your hard work, and no further comments. Thank you.
Member Patel.
Member Patel, I'd say there's some percentage reduction, like 72,000 for the board members, so it's like. That's like,
It's executive director running. So we can pull that back up, but that was the virtual meetings option, and I didn't pursue that either. That was proposed previously, but that's not part of my
The board voted to
proposition. Yeah.
board member, but also it's optional, like if we choose, right, board members say like, hey. Can do remote, okay. Yeah. Drop in the
I mean,
budget.
it-
Yeah. No comment.
Board Member Crumer?
No comments, thank you.
Or Chen?
Just a big shout out and thank you for all the hard work our board staff does to keep us rolling, and I mean, that packet, heck. It's amazing, thank you.
Board Member Hall?
Member Hall, I don't have anything to add, thank you.
Then Joyce, just one, if we all went, I mean, I don't want to, but if we went to all virtual for the savings or whatever, I mean, would we all have to agree to that, or would we need to have a majority for that?
Do you want me to talk about that? This is Staff Member Melvin. I can kind of speak to this. So the board, when this was proposed during the agency request budget, we had the board motion on this. I don't know if you remember, and you all voted to move from 3-day to 2-day meetings. And we chose certain ones would be virtual, certain ones would be in person during the winter months, remember? Okay, then when that former executive director left the agency, the board motioned to bring it all back to kind of how we convened today. And so the board will discuss in December. Right now, you are slated to meet 2 days every other month in the years 2026 to 2027. So we're going to have to bring that back and make some decisions at that time.
Executive director running, and just to be clear, I think with the proposed reductions and the extension of those vacancies to 3-1, there is a little wiggle room there, so it wouldn't be necessary to do that. And of course, you have the option to do it if you so choose, but it wouldn't be a necessity by any means. There wouldn't be any pressure from a budgetary standpoint.
But, this board member, it's encouraging to hear, I think.
All right, and lastly, we'll just parlay into the strategic plan update. I'll try and keep this kind of simple and quick. This is just a high level update on some of the progress in implementing the board's 24 through 29 strategic plan since the August 2025 meeting. So some key milestones, of course, we had deadlines on 10-1 for the COOP plan, or continuity of operations plan, and the annual performance progress report, which you saw, which took a lot of work between staff members, Efremoff, Melvin, Hennigan, and myself. So I appreciate their joint and collaborative efforts on that. In terms of drafting and adopting the rules, of course, the work that we did on the respiratory vaccine protocols. You've seen the work that staff member Efremoff did on the PPLs, the compounding rules, and then the criminal conviction petition rules. In terms of the technological component, and staff's made changes to our progress to the software modernization project, as previously mentioned, and we actually have a meeting upcoming, or an upcoming meeting this week. The goal to submit our business case for that before the next board meeting. In terms of operations, several things going on here. And we finished the internal meetings for PD, or position description reviews, for both filled and vacant positions on the leadership and executive team. I'm reviewing that data as allowed now to determine what revisions are appropriate when we do fill those positions. And how the position descriptions and responsibilities or duties will change for the staff that's currently here in a way that makes sense and would help facilitate the streamlining of operations for us. Started meetings between licensing and compliance departments to agree upon unified language and begin revision of standard works to ensure consistency, increased transparency, and efficiency of license and registration processing and review. Directed licensing and compliance directors to devise systems to assess and track current application workload, to identify urgent needs for immediate triage, increase processing efficiency, and enhance workload redistribution where appropriate. Not only will this increase transparency and accountability, I think it will arguably lead to greater employee engagement. Board member Kirkbride, as you mentioned, sometimes it's difficult when you look at these KPMs and you see the number going up, to stay really engaged and find that value in what you're doing, and the meaning and just stay, again, engaged with what you're doing. So having these sort of like incremental kind of milestones and, can really help in terms of increasing not only engagement, but also satisfaction, which is something that I strive to do in creating that sort of inclusive and fun, engaging atmosphere where people want to come to work or look forward to, in as much as one can ever want to come to work. So I think it'll help increase employee engagement, and also improve customer service. The decreased processing time or decreased time to licensure also parlays well into the strategic plan because it's going to help ensure that we can mitigate the impact of all these pharmacy closures and ensure that the board itself isn't creating a rate limiting step or a barrier to care because of internal processes. And in terms of that, I would like to give a shout out to the licensing staff and licensing director Hennigan in particular. I worked a lot with the governor's team right around all of those Rite Aid closures to identify some strategies to help mitigate that impact. And so what happened in-house, Chrissy and her team really triaged all of the incoming out-of-state licensing requests for pharmacists and interns, I think in a couple of instances, and technicians, so that anyone that wanted to send help in, we got those processed quickly. I even saw, correct me if I'm wrong, in a couple of instances where we got a complete application of a technician that was turned around in a couple days.
Yes, that's true. We've been able to turn those around fairly quickly. As soon as we're getting fingerprint results back, if the application's complete, we're getting them issued that day or the next day.
We appreciate the work you're doing on that. And of course, we're still working with the AG Hunt on some of the applications. We paused that probably a couple weeks ago, and we're going to pick that back up in December. We've made some good progress on that. And then in terms of communication and outreach, I'm out in the community as much as I can, while taking care of everything else. I presented a law update at the OSP annual convention. I mentioned it's a couple weekends ago. I continue to participate as a panel member for a review panel for the law and ethics courses at OSU. Hosted a meet and greet, or we will, for a Pacific University exchange student on 10/28, and it may just be me hosting that, but there will be someone here. It might just be me, but we did that last year, so in partnership with them, and increasing that collaborative effort. I look forward to doing that this year as well. Running an exhibitor's booth at OSHP annual seminar on the OHSU campus on November 15th. And special thanks to Stacy Barrett for offering us a booth there. We did that last year, and looking forward to that as well this year. And then lastly, I'm giving a guest lecture P1 law class at OSU on 11/18. That's all I have for the SP update. President Joyce, I'll turn it back to you.
All right, does anyone have any questions for Gary or else? See, thank you for all you do, and hopefully the new software will help to facilitate as well, right? Okay. When do we anticipate the applicants who want to kind of what we looked at recently with the pre felt like, you know, they have something that happened to them and they want to know if they qualify. When does that take effect? If they're able to apply or not? The one we recently. What? Question to you.
Executive Director Ryan, have we gotten a request already?
Project plan to try to go live after the rules are permanently adopted, which would be December. So I think staff has a deadline for us by December 20th to be able, or before Rachel close application, to be able to get it linked to the website up and live and ready to go.
The plan in place, interesting. Okay. So what is next? The matters to be discussed?
Consent agenda.
Consent agenda, of course. All right, is there any more discussion on the consent agenda? Board member, President Joyce, no? I mean, I'm sorry, President Joyce, yes, there's no questions. No discussion needed. Board Vice President Kirkbride,
No discussion.
Board member, Chin,
No discussion.
Board member Hall has left, Board member Kroger.
Here.
Board member Hall is here, board member, I'm so confused, and it's, past 3 o'clock on Friday, so.
No question.
Board member, ask no questions, thank you. Board member, where am I, Kroger? There's no questions, no comments, Board member Patel,
No going.
Board member Pinedo is, has left. Ooh, and Board member Smith.
No comments.
All right, thank you. So regarding the consent agenda, let's see, is there, can I go ahead and motion then for the consent agenda? Is there a motion to move to approve the consent agenda as proposed?
Board Member Chen.
Is there a second? Board member Joyce, yes. Board Vice President Kirkbride?
Yes.
Board member Chin?
Yes.
Board member Hall?
Yes.
Board member Kroger?
Yes.
Board member Patel?
Yes.
Board member Pinedo is left. Board member Smith? All right. Now on to public comment. There's, is that right? There's no, okay, no one for public comment. So I will now move on to, members, board members. We will now take time for each board member to provide comment, ideas, policy, discussion items for future board meetings. I'll start off with board member Kirkbride.
Thank you. I think what's on my mind, I just, my wheels are turning, looking forward to robust discussion regarding SDA items, staff delegated authority, for those of you on the phone. So we can continue to streamline our caseload and, improve, turnaround and, move on to other things and have more discussions. I also am looking forward to our planning retreat next month as well, being that it's my first one, so I don't really know what to expect, but sounds like it'll be a good time. I'm very interested, I think, just in general in, and really appreciate, Executive Director Runyon's comments about how much he intercepts and interacts with the other, health professional boards. And, I think that's an area where I think there can be more alignment. And so I don't have anything specific, but just really appreciate that relationship building is happening. And continue to, look for opportunities where pharmacy can, align with other health professionals. Thank you.
Thank you. Board member Smith?
Member Smith, I would just like to thank the board staff. I know they've spent a lot of work putting that packet together and, thank you.
Board member Patel?
Remember, but, just want to make a comment about all the compliance officer who do inspection for all the Oregon pharmacy. And I know sometimes they have to drive like 4 or 5 hours and, I just want to say thank you and I really appreciate their time and I've heard lots of positive comments about how now the inspection conduct and everything and they're very professional, very understanding. And I see there's a change in the culture too, when they come to pharmacy, they're kind of like more kind of open to, guide us, I would say, to all licensing. So thank you to all the compliance officer who do inspection. Thank you.
Kroger.
Board Member Kroger, just another big thanks, but nothing further to add.
Merchant.
Member Chin, nothing further to add, but and to thanks and to just, I won't be here for that. I'm gonna do Joel on November 5th. So this board member Pineda, just for your information.
Board member Patel too. Yes, I'm also going to the board show. So
One day is hard to come up with.
Yeah. Okay.
But if we could let, board staff, Naomi know, so that she doesn't have to go through the process of trying to find disclosures.
3 years. Okay. Board Member Hall.
Board Member Hall, yeah, I just wanted to echo, thank you, and I just noticed the organization of the meetings, improved for me and, the clarity of the whole rulemaking process. So thank you.
Board President Joyce, yeah, thank you very much. This was the largest amount of cases I had ever seen. And I want to appreciate everyone's hard work and I most definitely appreciate everyone's robust input and yeah, this is a great group of board members. Everyone, there's no shy members here, so I appreciate that. I appreciate that. You speak your mind and you can back it up. So, thank you, everyone. Good work. Matters to be discussed by agency staff, Director Runyon, any more matters to be discussed?
Agency director, yeah, executive agency, pharmacist consultant, officer running the finance. Yeah, no matters that matter. Just a big thank you all to, I know it takes a lot of time to prepare for these meetings and it shows and we appreciate it. And again, the robust and honest feedback, because you giving that to us allows us to improve what we do, which is the ultimate goal. So appreciate you for that.
Thank you very much. So before we adjourn, board members who took written notes before or during the board meeting, please add your name, date, and mark confidential if they were taken during executive session, and provide them to staff member Melvin. If you would like to keep your written notes, please go to the board office and staff will assist you with making a copy before you depart the building. If you took electronic notes outside of OneDrive, email your notes to Rachel Melvin at bop.oregon.gov. May I adjourn? Is that okay? Okay, twist your arm, okay. Is there a motion to move to adjourn the meeting at 3:10 p.m.?
So moved, board member Patel.
Second board member Chin.
Board President Joyce, yes. Board Vice President Kirkbride.
Yes.
Board Member Chin. Board Member Hall.
Yes.
Board Member Kroger.
Yes.
Board Member Patel.
Yes.
Board Member Diaz absent. Board Member Smith. Motion passes. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Rich, did a great job.
Thank you.